Everybody. I'm so happy that you joined us here for session 2. We had a lot of fun last week. My name is Jill Day. I'm your host for tonight, sharing some information about interviewing to win. And this week's segment, we're going to focus on some very specific topics to continue to help you prepare. But before we get started, I'd like to make sure I give you a personal description of myself. I have long brown hair, hazel eyes, and I'm wearing a black dress. And you might visualize some old-fashioned earbuds that are not AirPods, but they are hearing aids for me in this session. So I'm excited to get started today. Thank you all for joining. So last week, as a quick recap, we covered, preparing for the interview, and we researched our companies, and we made sure that we understood their values, their business, their products. What were they up against? What were some of the new things coming on the horizon for them that you might be able to contribute your experience and your skills? So this week, let's start talking about the ongoing preparation for interviewing. And I'm getting ready to share my screen here. Thank you so much. All right. As we get started today, I just want to remind you that if you've got questions, you can start putting those questions in the chat. At the very end, we will take Q&A, and we'll try to cover as much of that as possible. So pull up a chair, let's get ready. As a reminder, this particular series is broken into 7 different segments. Well, we've got last week's segment where you're researching the company. This week's segment is really focused on telling your story and the proper way to do that. We've broken these down into small capsules so that you can digest them and start practicing them and integrating them into your routine. So it's really important that you take time to really focus on these next 30 minutes here while we review this content, and then be prepared as we go through Q&A. Be prepared to be assigned some homework. And just curious, has anybody in the room from last week done any of your preparation, like reviewing and researching your company at all? Anyone? All right. Well, let's jump into preparing for the interview. So this is a really strategic time, really important. About how much time do you typically spend researching a company before an interview? Anybody want to put in the chat here what you typically see? Jennifer and Wah are monitoring the chat, and so they'll let us know what the answers are. Raul or Jennifer or Wah? Anybody?
How about 3 hours?
3 hours. Okay. Well, that's not bad. I get anywhere from I never prepare to a couple of hours. I will tell you the best in the industry are 8 to 12 hours. One of my closest friends, no less than 36 hours of preparation. And this is a woman who has a disability, has no college education, and is now the chief operating officer of her company. So it does pay off to really research and do your homework and prepare ahead of time, because you might have the same number of years of experience, you might have the same education as 100 other applicants, but you're the one that they want to hire. You want to shine above everybody else, and you want to make sure you're different. And so doing a deep dive into the company that you're applying to, like we talked about last week, but also learning how to tell your story in a format that's all about them. So you'll see this pro tip here. Interviewing is all about what you can do for them. It really has nothing to do with what's in it for you. Now, you're going to be interviewing that company while you're going through this process, no question, right? But when you're telling your story, it's all about what you can do for them. It has nothing to do with you. Companies are not necessarily interested in what you want from them at the beginning. You're first attracting them to you. So how do we do that? Let's say that you're now at the stage where you are being asked to go either on a phone interview, a video interview, or an in-person interview, depending on what stage you are in the process. The first thing you need to do as an applicant is ask the recruiter, so who will I be talking to? What are their titles? And then you should do a research of who those people are. True story. I was interviewing somebody for a VP of marketing role, and she knew that I was a singer. She knew that I had sung at Carnegie Hall the year before. She blew me away with the freaky things that she learned about me through her Google search, but it was because she was given a list of the people she was interviewing and the titles, and she took time to really connect us to herself through her research and interview. This is also the time to ask the recruiter for any kind of accommodation. Right after this slide, we're going to go into a couple of details about what that can look like for you, but now's the time. This is when you start sharing, hey, I'm not only the best person you could hire for this job, and while I have a couple of special needs, it's not going to be too much, and I'm just going to be transparent from the get-go. So we'll go over that in just a moment. But you take those interview names, their titles, you find out what they're doing for the company. You find out what Google has to say about them, what their LinkedIn looks like. Come to the meeting knowing a few of their key achievements. You may never express them, but you've already got more power in your seat because you know more about them than they do about you yet, right? Do your reverse homework. And I would also add to this, make sure you want to work for those people. You might find things in their background or their LinkedIn where you're like, I'm not sure I fit in that organization or for that particular leader. My daughter recently turned down an interview because of the opportunity to work for a certain person. And the more she learned about them, the less likely she felt she would be successful. So she removed herself from consideration. You have that kind of power. You are not desperate. You don't have to take the first company that offers you a job. You're researching them and interviewing them just like they are you. But come prepared to know what their volunteer things are, what's their social interests. I love finding people who are in this space. Like meeting Jennifer Noir for me was identifying people who really care about people within this community of people with disabilities and varying abilities and partnering together to figure out how can we help? What can we do differently to help them? You might find other people who just align with your favorite thing. Maybe you're a Marvel fan. Maybe you're headed to Paris Comic-Con or something like that. It's awesome for you to find out those things and make those connections because it really endears yourself to these other people and they feel like they know you better. So with that, I do want to cover a little bit about requesting an interview accommodation. It's okay to request the disability-related accommodation as soon as you receive an invitation for that interview. It's a really good idea to do that. And so while we're not going to drain this slide and the next one, I want you to know these tools are here and we're going to start adding them to the content of each one of our segments going forward. I think what I really want to call out here is after you've asked verbally, follow it up in writing so that you have a clear record that you've asked for this, right? Really important, especially if you get the job, they've known then all along that you've needed this accommodation. You do not need to disclose any diagnosis. Your HIPAA rights are still your HIPAA rights. All I have said in the past is I have a hearing disability. I need closed captioning. Can you provide that in this interview? What could you do to support me with this accommodation? You're not asking for a lot. You're just saying, I interview better if I have this information, and being very transparent without giving them the whole story. They don't need your story. They don't need anything you want to protect. This is about you and what you need for that particular role. So I want to invite you to look at the next page. Be prepared for exactly what you need and plan your conversation. Start rehearsing that with a trusted friend. Ensure your advocate supports your request and how you're going to ask for it. So this is all stuff you're doing before you even have an interview. You want to be sure that you have asked these questions and been prepared for asking for that accommodation during that interview. What communication at this time is not is demanding or threatening or assuming that they understand you, right? Make sure you're open to options and everything like that as you ask for those accommodations in that interview process. We will be, again, including these in the slides so you can reference them on your own, but also we'll start to include them throughout the series as we move forward. It's important that you know how to advocate for yourself. Again, for those of you just joining us, if you've got questions, go ahead and put them in the chat. At the very end, we will have a quick Q&A, answer as many questions as we can. We're glad you're here. So feel free to utilize that chat button, and we'll respond then at the end. So this next part, again, last week we researched the company. Now it's your turn. You know, if you've been in any interviews in your life, it's like, so tell us about yourself. Well, you want a 60-second or less introduction. And what you want to do is really tie who you are to what they need. And in a minute, we're going to take 10 minutes of our time, which is valuable time, and we're going to watch a video. And then we're going to go through the rest of the content, and then we'll get to the end. So right now, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And I'm going to revert to my YouTube video for those of you following along. If you can't see my screen, you're just going to understand what it is I'm doing here. And it'll take just a second for my technology to catch up. So please bear with me while I go in and do this. All right. Can you confirm that you can see my screen?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay, here we go.
That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Tell me about yourself. 4 simple words that can make anyone ramble or freeze. Even people at the top of their game can go blank when they hear those dreaded words. So what does that mean? Does your introduction really make that big of a difference? I never thought it did. I thought my introduction wasn't nearly as important as my qualifications. For example, right after I started my business, I had the perfect opportunity to shine. I was interviewing as an instructor for Supply Chain Institute, and I knew I was the ideal candidate. I had over 20 years of expertise leading supply chains for one of the world's largest consumer products companies. As I prepped for my interview, I didn't want there to be any doubts about my qualifications. I created an elevator pitch and included a complete list of my accomplishments. When I heard "Tell me about yourself," I was ready, and I proudly explained everything that I could do. When I finished, the interviewer said, instead of talking about yourself, it would have been more effective if you had explained what you can do for me. My interview lasted 5 minutes. She rejected me on the spot based off of one answer. That was my wake-up call. I realized it doesn't matter how smart you are, it doesn't matter how perfect a fit you are, if you can't capture someone's attention. After that, I became laser focused on cracking the code on introducing myself. I studied the science of first impressions. I researched viral headlines and what made them so irresistible. And then I discovered the secret of introducing myself perfectly in 20 words or less. Fast forward about 6 months. I'm having coffee with the executive director of a business development program. She asks me, "What do you do?" I answer her in one sentence. I'm a communications consultant, and I help people with something to say but struggle to say it. She leans in and says 3 magic words. "Tell me more." 15 minutes later, she hires me to give workshops for new entrepreneurs. But here's the thing. I was the same person who blew that interview just 6 months before. But this time, I got the job, even though I had way fewer qualifications. And the only thing different between success and failure, between that door of opportunity opening or slamming shut in my face, was my introduction. From that point on, I started to see my introduction in a whole new light. It wasn't just a way of grabbing someone's attention. I thought about all those times when I would hear no, and my inner critic would tell me that people didn't see me or hear me because I wasn't good enough or smart enough. But that was wrong. It wasn't me, it was my introduction. Introduce yourself in 20 words or less. I'm going to start with 2 secrets of getting people to say, "Tell me more." Secret number 1. Think soundbite, not data dump. That's because with today's multitasking attention deficit audiences, it's been said you have a better chance of engaging with a goldfish than the person that you're talking to. A 20-word introduction is designed to grab someone's attention and get them to say, "Tell me more." Secret number 2. Do you remember what that interviewer told me? Don't talk about yourself. Instead, explain what you can do for them. I called the difference between an about me versus an about you introduction. An about me introduction sounds like this. I'm an award-winning, best-selling author. Compare that to, I help new authors get published faster. Can you hear the difference? One describes me, the other describes what I can do for you. Now that you know the secrets, here are 5 ways to introduce yourself perfectly in 20 words or less. I'm going to start with a straightforward about you introduction. The formula is, I help my target audience achieve a benefit they desire. For example, I help worried job hunters confidently explain why they're the ideal candidate to hire. Now, here's a tip about your benefit. A benefit answers your listener's question, how will my life be different? For the second framework, let's go beyond offering a benefit. Let's promise a breakthrough. The formula is the same as the benefit one, but you're going to add the word without. I help my target audience achieve a benefit they desire without negative consequence. I help established brands in competitive markets rapidly reach new audiences without increasing marketing spend. The word without is so powerful because that's how you explain what makes you unique. For the last 3 frameworks, here's what to say if you don't want to focus on your career. For example, you're mission-driven, or you're on a career pivot. Maybe you're a student and you don't have a lot of work experience. In this case, you can use your passion, your mission, or your strength. I'll start with your passion. I'm passionate about something I value to achieve something my target audience values. I'm passionate about helping people in need and creating opportunities that change lives. Next, instead of your passion, you can use your strength. I'm known for my strength to achieve something my target audience values. I'm known for my critical thinking and turning information into actionable insights. Last, you can use your mission. I'm on a mission to achieve something my target audience values. I'm on a mission to bridge the healthcare divide and make a lasting difference for vulnerable communities. And that's how you use your passion, your mission, or your strength. Now that you've seen the 5 introductions, your next step, try them out. Don't be surprised if you find yourself using more than one. That's because different audiences value different things. So what works for one may not work for another, but that's okay. You'll see there are multiple ways of getting people to say, "Tell me more." I'll close with this thought. Have doors been closed in your face? Do you struggle to be seen and heard? Does your inner critic tell you you're not good enough or smart enough, or that you're an imposter and something is way above your pay grade? Before you buy into your inner critic's narrative, let me challenge you. What if? What if that voice inside your head is wrong? What if you are good enough and smart enough? What if the best way to describe you is impressive, not imposter? And what if the only thing between you and being seen, heard, and recognized is your introduction in 20 words?
Well, glad Toyota and American Express got a few blurbs in there for themselves, but I hope you captured the content of that, because what's really important here is what she said. What can you do for them, and get them to ask more questions? I had an interview once that went 45 minutes. I just asked her to tell me about herself. 45 minutes, she never came up for air once. And she was so disappointed that I didn't take her to the next step. But I was like, I need someone who can communicate at a level differently than what you've demonstrated in this interview. I needed you to allow me to run the questions, because I have certain needs to understand about you that you kind of assumed you were giving to me. So as you approach the interview process, you really want to know who they are, what they value. And you want to tease them a little bit about everything you're going to bring to them. It's not about you. It's about what's in it for them that you can provide that no other candidate will provide. So I'm going to go back to sharing my screen here again. And hopefully I won't have the same technology issues. We will see how this goes. So, all right. So I want to go back to screen 2 here, and not to screen 2, that's on my side. I don't know if I said that. But can everybody see my presentation page again?
Yes, we can
Yes.
see it.
Okay, thank you. All right, so that video is planted into these slides, so you can go back and listen to her. I listen to her often, and I rehearse this. Like this morning, I was on my way here. I found out a corporate person was here, and I started practicing my interview, or my introduction of myself, because I knew he was going to say, so what do you do here? And so I said, excuse me, I've always been known for connecting people to the results of the business, and that's what I get to do here. And my job is to help ensure we do that while we increase the morale of our people, while we keep them engaged and feeling really confident in what they do here. So you want to practice not only preparing your story, but it also goes into reviewing your resume. When people say, hey, tell me about your resume, I want you to share with us your experience. You don't go into every single thing that you've done. You don't, if you're interviewing for an administrative job, so sorry, you don't tell them that you are somebody who manages other people's schedule. You talk about at XYZ company, this is what I did. I built trust with my leader. He understood that he could trust me with this information, and I became his trusted business partner while I supported the administrative functions of his job. Why I left that job is this reason, and because I was motivated to take this next opportunity. You don't have to share a ton of personal things, but you want to make sure that you have like a 3 to 5 resume review that hits what went well, why you made the moves you've made, and why you're excited about this opportunity. Focus on relevant achievements. So think about, as you prepare the story, who am I in 20 words or less? Your resume, and I've been around a long time. I'm old, folks. Like, I've been in this business for more years than I'm going to tell you. So I could go on for an hour and tell you everything I've done, but I keep my resume review to 3 to 5 minutes, and I hit on the job highlights about the job I'm applying for. I will make my experience come to the top and share that, but it takes practice and review. So the third thing that you really want to make sure you do in this part of the segment is you really want to ensure you're preparing for the interview. You go through your experience and your resume and you start to pull out key accomplishments or metrics, successes, special projects that you did. And you almost want to have like the job description that you've applied for on one side. And then you're starting to formulate, hey, these are some of the key things that they're looking for out of the job posting. And I'm going to come up with some of my experiences that match this. Because in our next segment, you're going to find out that they're going to ask you questions about how you help design a new process or how you thought critically, depending upon the job that you're applying for. So you want to create stories that match what you see them looking for in the job description. So if they're saying cultivated a marketing plan for a new niche market, you're going to think about an opportunity where you've done that and you're going to be able to tell that story. Next week, we'll go into a lot more detail about that and it'll be very helpful. But go ahead. You haven't been scheduled for the interview yet. Go ahead and start preparing these things. Just like you research the company before you apply, believe you're going to get that interview, get ready for that accommodation, go in and start asking yourself, what are the key things I can start sharing with them about my role, about my accomplishment, about my experiences? Run that through ChatGPT. My goodness, it's the world's best friend all of a sudden. I love it. I spend a lot of time on AI. I just don't use it verbatim. And here's why. My cousin was searching for a very specific job that was not a normal job posting. She literally got 10 identical resumes, all from ChatGPT. And when she interviewed 5 of those people, they all said similar things because they used ChatGPT. So here's the trick. Use your AI resources. Love them. Get the pizzazz out of them. Let them help you polish what you're saying. But use your own words, use your own identity. Make sure you represent who Jill Day is in that moment and not ChatGPT, so that you still are individualistic, but you are polished. You have your thoughts well put together. And you're going to hear me say this over and over, and you're going to probably start rolling your eyes sooner or later. But practice is everything. I practice this stuff even when I'm not interviewing. Because I get calls a lot for, hey, Jill, we'd like to talk to you about XYZ opportunity. And while I may not be interested, it's always a good exercise for me to interview with them. You want to be prepared. You don't want to get a call on Wednesday for a Thursday interview and have to crash course this. Start practicing these things. Make them part of your routine. Make them part of your presentation to others. And how you're going to do that is this week's activity. So develop your introduction and resume review. Review that video. Get your intro down to 20 seconds. Practice it at a party. You may not believe this, but I'm extremely shy. And so I go to a party and I'm a wallflower, but if I have to introduce myself to somebody, I guarantee you, I use this 20 words or less thing all the time. I'm constantly saying, something that's important about me that's relative to that moment. But in the elevator, when I'm going into a new company and I'm starting to meet people, I've been rehearsing the story of Jill. I love working with our people within the organization because they're our greatest asset. And my role and what I enjoy doing is helping them succeed because the company then succeeds as well. So things like that. I may not be polished right here in this moment, but I practice these things and I get it to where I feel like I could say it in a moment's notice if I need to. Practice with a friend, videotape yourself. You might cringe for me to say that. I hate me on video too, but go in front of the video, track what you liked about how you delivered, track what you don't like, and try to change that behavior. Get comfortable and confident with who you are and what you're saying so that they can focus on your experience, what it is you're bringing to the table that they're going to fall in love with you for. Practice those things, win them over, make that a great first impression. You don't get a second, you get one impression. And then prepare your cheat sheets. Go back to page 8 of this presentation and really spend time cultivating some of the successes and line them up with the job description so you're ready for those interviews. And next week, we're going to go in and practice those just a little bit more. Thank you so much for being here again today. I'm thrilled that we got another opportunity to talk. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Wah and Jennifer for Q&A.